Alright, my name is Ben Whelan, and this is the game that we're proposed to make for the summer game, which is Diego's Adventure. First I'll just talk about the software we're using for it. You'll be using D3D for making, actually building the game yourself, and putting together Reaper for making the sound and music for it. Blender for doing modelling, and obviously making the game for Android. And then obviously we'll be using operating systems like Mac and Windows, because we're making using Reaper stuff on the Mac stuff on up in the newsground, yeah. So it's just with the hardware as well, because we're developing for the next 7 really. I didn't really get into minimum requirements for that, and just because I wasn't really planning on designing for anything else. So it just has the Qualcomm Snapdragon, the CPU, it's like quad-core. It's more powerful than the computer I'm using at home, so it should work on it, like, you know what I mean? Right, so I just thought, like, the original game ideas that I had for it, I decided maybe, like go for like a racing game, kind of like SRX, if anyone's ever played that. It's kind of like futuristic, but like, for instance, like the graphics aren't amazing, but you get more variation, so like about 30 different cars you could choose from, and like loads of different tracks and things like that, or backgrounds, things like that, but not really specifically like amazing, kind of like high polygon count for it. And then I was thinking maybe do like a platform or a side scrolling might be, so I was looking at the pros and cons as well, sorry, before I go on that, so I was thinking they had similar assets designs, but it's the reason why I didn't go for racing games, because I have to do a little bit extra research for game mechanics and stuff like that, because I've never really tried to do a racing game before. And then I just think I'd do a side-scrolling platform, because I thought it'd be handy enough on the touch screen and things like, because it just give me just from left to right and jumping and things like that. So and the level design might be a little bit easier because they're taking out an extra vector. But I was just thinking that the cons of it would be it'd be kind of a bit linear, you know what I mean? Whereas if I went for a 3D game, it would be a slightly less linear. Although I am going for a linear style level design, I thought if with the extra vector, I could just add more things in for what I want to do, and I'll talk about that later on as well. Although this harder level design, if I can pull it off, it would be more rewarding. So, yeah, the genre of going for is just 3D platformer, kind of slash puzzle. There's a little puzzle elements that I wanted to add into it. The whole thing would be set in kind of like a rainforest, so the theme would be like South American kind of tribal, with like bright colours, bright lighting, things like that, you know, kind of like basically bright colours really. So this was play like actor came up with, he's kind of like a monkey, you know what I mean, nice and kind of like simple, kind of cartoony, you know what I mean? Yeah, I was like thinking like NPCs that I have to like make, so I wanted to have things that would be like snakes, killer bees, crocodiles, and they'll all have like their own different things. So let's just take some new horizontally on the ground, killer bees can move up and down vertically, crocodiles just like make the water, and then just place the wind it, they'll be like snapping and biting, and then it just traps things like spikes, so if you jump too high in a certain area, you can kill yourself in spikes, or if you miss a jump you can fall down a pit, or let's say if you're jumping across platforms or anything like that, if you spend too much time on them or something, they fall down into a pit, and yeah, basically bad things happen. Level design, so I was basically going to go for like a linear style, with kind of like traces borders. Essentially it'd be like an invisible border, invisible wall as they say, but to justify them being there, I'll probably have trees to knock them out. Rivers, because I wanted to kind of have this like Amazon kind of like look to it, so maybe have like a big river and things like that you can jump over. The reason I put in now rotation of camera, because I feel that if I wanted to rotate the camera, it would drastically change how I wanted to design my level. If I wanted to just kind of have that there in my head, that when I'm making it, it's going to be a fixed camera angle, like, so regardless of where you're running, it's not going to rotate, it'll move forwards and sideways with you. And the other thing would be like hidden objects, so that'll also come into like the level design, so if you're looking at a viewpoint, like on what stages are you going to be able to see certain objects, what point are you not going to be able to see them. And then platform spacing as well, so for instance it's going to be a platformer, so one of the main objects will be jumping from platform to platform. and as I'll talk later on, I wanted to have more than one way of jumping, and that will affect how I design the level as well. These are just quick sketches on up because I haven't done a white box yet now myself. Some of these things could change when I go to actually look at what is feasible and what is not feasible. So it's just simple. Like this is just main player. Like you'd have something where you come across a river and you come up here, as these are all trees and stuff that would like block you in. Come to maybe even just like a little area here where you have like this is kind of, let's say, a puzzle end where you can move these things around, and if you line them up, it could be like steps to get up to an item. Or maybe part of the puzzle kind of idea. So like things that you can move, all this sort of thing, and then there's like, as I said, it's just an idea just of things where you can just jump up and things, or you jump, let's say, too high up here, then getting hit by spikes and all that. And then when you get to the other side, you'll get into, let's say, a city or that, or something like that, something like outside of, it's maybe an adventure, it's maybe me in the jungle sort of thing. Oh yeah, there's graphics and style, so it's just gone for the simple 3D graphics with like kind of cartoony textures and cartoon shading, because Unity has like a cartoon shader built into it. I was looking at different things that they could do. This is the one that I was actually looking at. The other ones with like soft lighting, rim lighting and things like that, but I thought this was a good one. It kind of gives you a hard outline where it's like a hard, like black outline, like what you'd have like in cartoons or something like that, but it's subject to how your faces are and how the characters aren't. So something else I have to play around with and stuff, see if I'm happy with it and all that, but that's what I'm aiming to do. What else we got? I there's just things like particle systems and stuff for NPCs and health and item pickups and stuff. When I have in my head, I know realistically I'm going to have to make them particle systems myself, as in the graphics that go into them. Yeah, physics scripts are like player movement. Because the way I was going to do the game, how the players want, I won't be able to just throw in, let's say, the player controller that's built into Unity. I'll probably have to do it from scratch myself. It won't be, hopefully not too complicated, because I don't want any rotation in my character or anything like that. I just want it to move the way that I want it to move. And the pickups as well. So like health, for instance, would be like a food pickup, and then parts for a pogo stick. I'll talk about that in a minute as well. So like the idea that I was going to do is that you have a normal jump, if you want to jump higher, you have a pogo stick that will allow them to jump higher, because you see in the bodies, exactly the most athletic looking movie I've ever seen. So yeah, so looking at bouncy physics and stuff that like we're doing in class and other things like that, that they kind of have. Another thing I have to play around with in a white box and stuff before I start like making my level design, because I might have to scrap that, or if it's too difficult, or it might be feasible and I can go ahead and do it. But I wanted it to be something that I could turn on and off, like turn the physics on and off, so that like when you jump in, press a button, takes out his pogo stick, and then he then has bouncy physics, so it look as if he had to jump higher or something similar to that. I also wanted to kind of have movable objects, things like boulders and crates, things like that that will be able to move around as they're setting the levels in, so that like even part of like the whole puzzle part of the level. And then scoring system. So things like scoring system would be like health. The pogo sticks are really well at that is because it's going to do part of the puzzle element of it. Would be before you were able to use the pogo stick, you'd have to go around looking for parts of the pogo stick, and you wouldn't be able to use the pogo stick until you found all the parts. And that was kind of the way I did that, game controls. So directions, as I said, no rotations, just forwards, backwards, left and right. But I didn't know, as another part of the white box I wanted to do, I didn't know if a directional slider would be better, or an 8 direction, because I know that I've played games before, and the directional slider is easier because you never really have to take your thumb off the touch screen. And it is easier when you're not looking, because sometimes when you have like buttons, like an up, down, left, right button, when you're trying to focus on what's going on the screen, you actually miss where you're trying to touch, and it can be a bit frustrating on the touch screen. So where the buttons are kind of missed when it comes to the touch screen. So I wanted to use them as little as possible, but it might turn out that it might be better to use them. It's something I'll have to try out. And as you're saying, yeah, like I could have an A button for jumping, and then a B button for turning on and off the pogo physics, or taking it out, or putting it back in. And then my HUD would just show, we have the items text for the pogo stick, which is something that will flash up saying you have 3 out of the 5 parts, let's say, for the pogo stick. But the part of the HUD that will always be shown will be that just the help bar of lives, just keep it nice and simple, because you're limited to the size of the screen on touch screen devices, although Nexus is a pretty large one. The animations is something that I worry about, so I'll probably have to put a lot of time into this for a platform in terms of timing, and because I'm not going to be actually rotating the boundary box itself, I'll probably have to make an animation for each direction he's walking in and each direction he's jumping in. I don't know if I will have to, but it's something that I don't know for definite, so I have been thinking about. It's something I'm going to have to research. They obviously say jumping, idle cycles, taking out the pogo stick, putting it back in, which would probably be a reversal, but I still have to animate that on. All the NPCs have to be animated, so slithering the snakes, snapping of crocodiles, the wings of, let's say, like killer bees or something like that. Moving platforms. And then the audio, just going in stereo, I think. My house for old school records, and we only have 2 ears, so 5.1 I think is a bit ridiculous. Sound effects, it's just kind of like things for like pogo sticks, collecting items and all that sort of thing. But I was also thinking about using 3D sound effects for when you get closer to the NPCs and you could get closer to the river to kind of give a more kind of like in-depth feel to it, like. And then for the menus, there's like ambient jungle noises, you know, like howling monkeys, birds chirping and stuff like that, and there's just use like certain sound effects similar to that for like the buttons and things like that, just give more of a feel of the overall theme of the game, like the second you go into the menu, like. And then for like soundtrack, it's going to use like stereotypically like South American instruments like bongos and pan flutes and stuff, and I also have like a link for like music that I'll be looking to do, which is basically just Crash Bandicoot. These are my influences and examples in Crash Bandicoot, Ratchet and Clank, Commander Keen and Super Mario. And Commander Keen is actually this Commander Keen here. That's where I got the idea for the pogo stick. One of my favourite platforms of all time. So that's kind of where I got one of my influences from. And then like Crash Bandicoot, and it has the same sort of idea of like this linear track. You're in the jungle and it's kind of like your invisible walls on your left and your right, like. And yeah, just looking at current standards, so basically just looked online for like mobile devices, like one of the top rated games at the moment that's a platformer. It's called Wind Up Night 2. It's very good, but what I didn't notice about all the top ones I did research, they're all side scrollers, like there's nothing like Crash Bandicoot where you kind of it's 3D, although it is linear. There's none of that. Like all of them, they're all side scrolling. And then I looked at one of the worst, so I can get somewhere in the middle there. I'd be happy. Because the frog jump, I was looking at a froggy jump game. It's terrible. It's like really awful. Like so, I don't know. Like if I'm better than froggy jump, I'd be happy. It was market share. So like just some of these things I looked up. So we're making it for the Android, and I was planning on doing the same. So it said here that most people use Android, like significantly more. And this was just something that I came across. I actually found it hard to find a lot of things, a lot of the information online. This was one of the only ones the only other one I could find that was relative to kind of what I was doing. And there's like free-pay mobile games in the US in 2013, and most of them were like brain and puzzle. And I'd imagine that's the mechanics of